You married a woman who promised you stability. She signed a contract written not on paper, but in the expectations of 1,000 years. The promise of a shared future, loyalty, and the steady, quiet life of building a family. She was the anchor. She was the one who was supposed to be immune to the chaos, but somewhere between the ages of 35 and 45, that anchor slips. The devoted partner you know looks at the beautiful, stable life you've built together and decides it is a prison. She doesn't just leave. She detonates the foundation of her own life. You stand there, bewildered, asking the only question that matters. Why did she choose destruction over everything we had? The answer is not simple, and it has nothing to do with whether you remembered to buy flowers. It's about a crushing, invisible weight that the modern woman carries. It's about a promise society made to her and the devastating moment she realizes that promise was a lie. Part 1. The unspoken contract of the good wife. When a woman commits to a long-term marriage, she essentially signs an unspoken contract. This contract defines her identity for 2 decades. The contract has 2 major clauses, and both are now fundamentally broken by the modern world. Clause 1. The stability swap. The woman agrees to trade her options for your stability. She stops chasing the high of novelty and the ego boost of being pursued by many. In return, she receives the ultimate security: a husband who is a safe harbor, a steady income, a reliable foundation for her children, and emotional partnership. Her value shifts from being the most desired to being the most reliable. Clause 2. The meaning trade. She agrees to trade external applause for internal meaning. Her worth moves from the visible, exciting world of career and desire to the quiet, foundational world of home and family. Her achievements become invisible: raising functional children, running a peaceful household, supporting a successful husband. Her reward is the deep, lasting satisfaction of creation. For the first 15 years, this contract works. You, the man, fulfill your role. You provide, you protect, and you remain loyal. She, the woman, fulfills hers. She nurtures, she stabilizes, and she keeps the peace. But then, a quiet, insidious crisis begins to brew. Part 2. The 3 cracks in the modern contract. The classic good wife identity is cracking today because the rewards promised by the original contract no longer align with the reality of her life or the messages she is bombarded with daily. Crack 1. The disappearing value of domesticity. In the past, running a stable, successful household was a respected, visible achievement. The value of a good mother and a good wife was affirmed by the community and acknowledged by her husband. It was a respected vocation. Today, that role is invisible. It's not celebrated on social media. It doesn't translate into a paycheck. We live in a culture that worships ambition and external achievement. A woman's contribution to the home is now seen as her minimum expectation, not her achievement. When she compares her real life to the highlight reels of successful, traveling, independent women on her phone, she sees her own life as a kind of failure. The trade-off she made, trading the exciting for the meaningful, feels like a trick. The currency of internal creation, the family, has been devalued to zero by a culture that only values external acquisition: money, status, applause. She realizes, I am doing the hardest job, but getting zero credit for it. Her meaning trade feels like a massive loss. Crack 2. The midlife validation deficiency. This is the psychological fuel of the self-detonation. A man's value generally becomes more complex and increases at midlife. He gains status, experience, and resources. His value is tied to what he has built and what he can do. A woman's psychological model is different. Her core identity, even in a stable marriage, often remains tied to how she is perceived by the world. When she hits 35, a cruel shift happens. The world stops seeing her. You, her husband, see her deeply. But your love is obligated love. It's steady, it's safe, and she knows it's locked in. Your love is no longer a source of validation. It's a source of security. What she craves is unobligated validation. This is the high that comes from someone who has no reason to notice her, no reason to pursue her, who chooses her freely in a moment of risk and excitement. When she gets that glance from a new colleague or a late-night text from an old flame, it doesn't just feel good. It feels like proof of her existence. It proves that the pillar of options hasn't fully collapsed. This rush of feeling, this desperate attempt to regain her external value, becomes an addictive, overwhelming power that stability cannot compete with. Crack 3. The myth of the perpetual peak. Modern culture has told women a devastating lie, that they can have it all the time. She was told she could be the aggressive career woman, the perfect patient mother, the sensual, exciting lover, and the supportive homemaker, and she could sustain this peak performance indefinitely. Around 35, the body and mind stage a brutal rebellion. She is exhausted. She is tired of performing all 4 roles perfectly. Instead of accepting that life requires cycles and trade-offs, she looks for a single point of failure to blame for her exhaustion. The husband and the marriage become the target. It's easier to conclude, "I'm miserable because I'm in the wrong marriage and with the wrong man," than to accept the truth. I am miserable because I bought into the myth of the perpetual peak, and I am simply exhausted by the modern demands on my existence. The marriage isn't the problem. It's the symbol of the sacrifice she made. By destroying the marriage, she is attempting to symbolically destroy the impossible demands of her current life and reset the game. Part 3. The stages of self-destruction. The act of blowing up the house is not a spontaneous event. It is a slow, methodical process that follows a predictable emotional blueprint. Stage 1. The search for a new story. The inward turn. It starts with an intense, often secret, internal inventory. She stops engaging in the present and begins romanticizing her past. The part of her life before the good wife contract locked her in. She starts watching content, reading books, and seeking out friends that validate a feeling of being held back. She starts to reinterpret her entire marriage. The support you gave her becomes control. The security you provided becomes boring oppression. Her brain is now actively searching for a villain, because the alternative, admitting she made a mistake by signing the contract, is too painful. She is assembling a case file against you, turning every minor disappointment into a decade of emotional abuse. This is the psychological preparation necessary to commit the final act. Stage 2. The dopamine bridge. The external search. She finds her source of unobligated validation. It is never one single person, but the feeling they provide. This feeling, this rush of being chosen freely, serves as a powerful, addictive bridge away from her present reality. She starts spending money on things not to look good for you, but to look good for the mirror and the world. This isn't about looking younger, it's about looking available. She is trying to recapture the feeling of abundance she gave up years ago. You will notice an emotional disengagement. Her focus is intensely inward, concerned only with her feelings and her search for excitement. She will either be coldly distant, managing the fact that she's already checked out, or picking constant, unnecessary fights, using conflict to justify her escape. The fights are the most important sign. She is practicing her departure narrative out loud. Stage 3. The leap of authenticity. The detonation. This is the moment she pulls the trigger. The entire act is rationalized under the banner of finding myself or living my truth. These phrases, which sound healthy and brave on a TV talk show, are in this context a philosophical surrender to ego. She is choosing a temporary feeling over a permanent commitment. She is choosing her self-actualization over the stability of her children. The ultimate, brutal truth that she can never admit is this: her fear of being ordinary and unseen is stronger than her love for the stability of her family. She is prioritizing her individual ego over the collective well-being of the home she helped build. The person who walks out the door is not the woman you married. She is the terrified, panicking refugee of the impossible contract she could not sustain. Part 4. The final warning and your only strategy. The man's mistake is always the same. He sees a relationship problem when he should see an existential crisis. You believe you can fix this with communication, counseling, or by becoming a better husband. You can't. You are dealing with a person who is trying to escape reality itself, and in her mind, you represent the harsh, boring reality she is running from. She isn't leaving because you failed. She is leaving because she is failing to accept that life changes and beauty fades for everyone. She is running from mortality, and you are the stable, predictable clock that reminds her time is passing. The man's only strategy: immediate protection. If you see these signs, you must immediately shift your focus from saving the marriage to protecting your future. Do not compete with dopamine. Stop trying to be romantic or exciting. Your attempts to inject novelty will fail because she is already comparing your efforts to the high-stakes thrill of forbidden validation. Instead, be the immovable object. Be the steady, documented, reliable father. Focus on documentation, not conversation. When she starts attacking you, picking fights, or rewriting history, do not argue. Document it. When she talks about finding herself, securing the assets, and planning for the children's needs becomes your priority. You must prepare for a fight with a person who has already erased her own past. Redefine your identity. Her crisis is not an invitation for you to have one. Your focus must shift to your own pillar of internal commitment. Your value is in your consistency, your discipline, your financial stability, and your role as a father. This is the male anchor identity that does not decay with age. It strengthens. Double down on what you can control. The most dangerous part of this story is the aftermath. She will find that the thrill of the escape is temporary, but the damage of the destruction is permanent. The new life she leaps to is almost always temporary, and the emptiness she was running from will simply follow her into the next relationship. She traded loyalty for novelty, and she will learn a brutal lesson that society refuses to teach. The high of being chosen is fleeting. The value of being kept is eternal. When she eventually looks back at the life she destroyed, the one she traded for a temporary rush of dopamine, she will realize the biggest deception of all. She never hated the marriage. She hated the feeling of being ordinary. And she destroyed an extraordinary life simply to feel special for one more moment. If the modern world rewards chaos and novelty, what is the single most important habit a man can build to make his own identity immune to the destructive pull of the modern world? Subscribe.